And welcome everyone to another edition of Jim's Movin Picture Show. It's New Year's, and everybody takes this time to do some self evaluation to see where you are and where you want to go, what you want to be in the next year. And fortunately for myself, someone who lives constantly in his head, this is a daily thing for me. It's actually pretty exhausting sometimes, but I'm always trying to figure out, am I the me I want to be deep down, or am I selling myself short? Am I cutting corners? Am I letting other things influence me that shouldn't? But I started to think about how I ended up being the person that I am. And the reality is, I didn't really have a male role model at home. My parents were married, but my dad literally worked all the time. And fathering that way wasn't his bag, really. And like many kids in that situation, I looked to pop culture. Now, I loved sports, but I never looked at athletes and said, "Oh, I want to be like that guy." Like I want to be like Billy Doran at the time or Craig Biggio later on. And I certainly loved music, but I wasn't growing my hair long like Joe Elliott. Like I found my influences or the examples of what I thought being masculine or a man. And I know that's supposed to be a dangerous word, but wanting to be masculine isn't the same as toxic masculinity, although that's not this kind of show. But we're not getting into that right now. This is not politics. But when I looked for what do I want to be like, what examples of manhood or masculinity do I see that I want to have reflected in my own character, I looked to movies and television. And I thought for this episode, as we get ready to roll into a new year, I would break down 12 of the characters or actors that I looked to and said, I want to embody something like that. And most of these things began when I was a kid, but there's even some modern characters on that I've seen lately that still want me to, or still inspire me to want to be a more perfect version of the self than I am. So without further ado, we're going to begin with number 12. Probably the most, if you did this episode with other people, this would definitely be on everybody's list, but I wanted to be Maverick from Top Gun. Now, I wanted to being in the military, I think, was always part of my future. And I even applied to the Naval Academy because of this movie. I didn't get in. That's a whole other story about parenthood that we'll get to later. But I wanted to be somebody that was cool. I never considered myself cool. And then in high school, I feel like me never considering myself cool was reaffirmed by the fact that I was painfully uncool. But I wanted to be that guy. And I wanted to be someone who was willing to put it all on the line for people. And I wanted to be someone who was willing to put it all on the line for people and to risk himself for his friends. And so looking at Maverick, it was more than just, oh, cool, that's a cool jet fighter movie. But it was really about him taking his own struggles into the cockpit and overcoming them and still, having the need for speed and doing his best to keep the people he loved alive, even when he came up short. Goose. I will say, though, one thing I did not get from Top Gun was how to make out, because actually the kissing scene with Kelly McGillis might have repressed myself romantically and sexually for a little bit of time, because that thing scared the crap out of me.
Yes, ma'am. The data on the MiG is inaccurate.
How's that, Lieutenant?
Well, I just happened to see a MiG-28
We.
Sorry, Goose. We happened to see a MiG-28 do a 4G negative dive.
Where did you see this?
That's classified.
It's what?
It's classified. I could tell you, but then I'd have to kill you.
Now, next up, this one might surprise people, but it's the honest to God's truth. I wanted to be, or maybe I saw myself as Ducky from Pretty in Pink. The person that let me just say that I have had a lot of crushes in my life. I have always wanted to be, as long as I can remember, a good boyfriend or a good husband. And there were definitely girls that, at least at the time, I perceived that I was interested in to be out of my league. And I was sort of always hoping that I could be this character that if the right moment breaks, that they would see something in me that was different. Now, I do know how Pretty in Pink ends. I do know that Ducky does in fact not get the girl. So maybe that does make it a more realistic quality of what my life was like as opposed to what I wished it was. That's something for my therapist.
You're here. What happened?
Well, I guess you're looking at it.
Oh, wow, you look great.
Thanks. You look stunning. Really, just it's breathtaking. No, and listen, I want you to know, despite my appearance at this function, I remain now and will always be a duck man.
All right, so next up, like everybody else, I wanted to feel like I was special, that I was somebody that could be picked for something heroic, and very similar to the Ducky with the romantic comedy thing, but somebody that they said, you're special and we need you. And that is what attracted me to Alex Rogan from The Last Starfighter. He's a regular guy doing regular things, not thinking he's going anywhere, which is where I spent a lot of my life mentally. But somebody saw something and plucked him out of the obscurity and made him a hero.
Who are you?
I'm Centauri, and you may... No, you must trust me implicitly. Get in.
Nothing Alex Rogan has ever imagined could prepare him for what he is about to experience.
Hey.
Now, next up, this is where it gets to the point where, I don't know, maybe it's weird, not weird, but different, because I was a big fan of the A-Team, but I wanted to be Face. Handsome, quick thinking, quicker talking. That was the kind of character that always appealed to me, and something that I hope or think or helped make me decide to or be encouraged by encouraging myself to shape my own sense of humor, because I think I'm pretty quick-witted when I want to be.
If you guys could just tell me what you want, okay? Oh, come on. Deals can be struck on anything. Really. Yeah, you see, the whole art of negotiation is a realization that no position is unattainable. All right. You know any good jokes?
Now, this is a character that I didn't necessarily want to become. He's a more recent character, but really one that I saw him that I was like, oh, I'm kind of that guy already. And at first I was going to pick Larry David, but, I don't think that I'm necessarily Larry David. I think I like people more than that. I know I like people more than that. But a character with maybe a similar outer crusting of chocolate, but with a soft, gooey center, I don't know if that makes any sense, was the character Ron Swanson on Parks and Rec. I think that there is a lot of me that's direct. My coworker once said that one of the best things about being my friend or working with me is no one ever doubts where they stand with me, because I'm pretty upfront. But I also think that, like Ron Swanson, I am always there when people need him. At least I hope so. That's at least something I strive to do.
Hi, my Yorkshire Terrier has chewed up the legs on my kitchen table. Is there a cheap way to repair that?
Great question. Take a walnut and rub it into the legs of your table. That'll mask the scratches. Next thing you want to do is ditch the terrier and get yourself a proper dog. Any dog under 50 pounds is a cat, and cats are pointless.
From the longest time, as long as I can remember, I had wanted to be Alex P. Keaton from Family Ties. Again, I wanted to be a little bit different. I wanted to be handsome. I wanted to have a quick wit. But I also remember watching those episodes and the ones where he was really vulnerable romantically. I always wanted to see that in myself in the sense of being that open to things. As we get down the list, and a lot of it's going to turn to what I wanted to be, again, as a boyfriend or a husband, I used to get made fun of by my best friend for being sensitive, and I always wanted a relationship. But I never really wanted to be, a dog. Is that an okay phrase? No, I wanted to have those moments. And so Alex P. Keaton, I think, always struck me as someone that I wanted to be a lot like, and in some ways already felt similar to, even at that young age.
I fall down on my knees, kiss the ground that you walk on, baby. If I could just hold you again.
Like Maverick, this is probably a really easy one, but I wanted to be Han Solo too. I wanted to be effortlessly cool, and that's what Han Solo is. He's brave, he's cool, and the other thing about him that I didn't realize later that really made me want to be like Han Solo was there was always a lot more to him than just what we thought. If you watch the movies, he's not just in it for the money, even though that's what he's telling people throughout the whole first film. So, but I think everybody can relate to wanting to be the brigand, the pirate, the kind of guy that's just too cool for everybody, and he's got a cool sidekick and he's running around the galaxy.
The possibility of successfully navigating an asteroid field is approximately 3,720 to 1.
Never tell me the odds. Punch it! Punch it!
The Jedi were real.
I used to wonder about that myself.
There's no mystical energy field controls my destiny.
It's true. The Force, the Jedi. All of it.
You really have a bad for the Falcon, don't you?
It's mutual, trust me. She belongs with me.
What have you done to my ship?
Your ship?
I hate you.
Remember, you lost her to me fair and square.
Fair and square, baby. Fair and square.
I love you.
I love you.
I know.
I know.
Now, speaking of another character that's kind of new, but still, like, I still want to strive to have more of these characteristics, and that is Sean Spencer from the show Psych. I think it's okay that I can be, like, I started watching Psych in my 30s and still think, oh, I want to be like that character. I think we all are works in progress, and I'm pretty open about the fact that I'm definitely still very much a work in progress. And yeah, I definitely wanted to be Sean Spencer. Again, the quick wit and the kind of sort of handsome, but maybe not like super ripped or whatever. That was always kind of my, well, definitely not super ripped is where I ended up in life. But I always liked the quick wit and just, he was always smarter than everybody in the room, and he doesn't want to be that.
Are you trying to beat me off?
You may want to rephrase that, sir. Maybe.
How do you not have a black suit? What grown man doesn't own a black suit?
Besides me, the Joker, Colonel Sanders, Matthew McConaughey.
McConaughey doesn't count. He doesn't own a shirt.
He doesn't need a shirt.
You know that's right.
Now we're going to go back to another Harrison Ford character. I wanted to be Indiana Jones too, and for different reasons than Han Solo because they're such different characters. But just, again, effortlessly handsome and cool, but also able to really adapt to any situation, even if it's, you know, by the skin of his teeth. And I always wanted to be able to have some kind of career or some kind of, I guess, occupation or something I was dedicated to, mission, I guess, that made me stand out a little bit. I never wanted to be someone who sat back in the crowd. And if anybody who knows me knows that that's definitely a fact.
Get back to Cairo. Get us some transport to England. Boat, plane, anything. Meet me at Omar's. Be ready for me. I'm going after that truck. Oh, I don't know. I'm making this up as I go.
Now, for another character that's pretty new, that when I watch it, it makes me see elements that I already have in myself that I want to kind of be more like, and that's Ted Lasso, from Ted Lasso. Even though, you know, and if you haven't seen the show, it's brilliant, but even though you watch the show and you see that he is internally pretty broken person that's dealing with a lot of stuff, I'm dealing with a lot of stuff, he still is able to put that aside to be there for his friends and to always have a good outlook on life. And I hope that I do that to some degree, and I think I could definitely be more like that. So again, even when I'm 48 years old, I'm always looking at ways that I can take one more step into being the best version of myself.
I disagree, you know? I think it's the lack of hope that comes and gets you. See, I believe in hope. I believe in belief.
Now, these last two are the last two for a reason, because they are probably the things that really do, as a young age, seeing these movies and thinking, that's the way I want to be, or that's my idea of masculinity. And I'm going to first go with Superman. And I know it's easy to say, oh, you want to be Superman, powerful or whatever. But again, part of it comes out of that whole wanting to be special and wanting somebody to look at you and say you are special. But I wanted to be special in a good way. I wanted to be someone that wasn't afraid of being hurt or putting himself out there for his friends. I've always had a hero complex, a Superman complex, for lack of a better word. And I definitely, particularly in the first two Superman, the movies, really saw those movies as examples of that's how I want to be. Maybe at times under the radar, but when it counts the most, really stood forward and really was there for the people that he loved and people that needed him. And I still think I want to do that as much as I can.
What the hell's that?
Easy, miss. I've got you.
You've got me? Who's got you?
I can't believe it. I just cannot believe it. He got her.
Gentlemen, this man needs help. Well, I certainly hope this little incident hasn't put you off flying, miss. Statistically speaking, of course, it's still the safest way to travel.
Wait! Who are you?
A friend.
And last, but certainly not least, from the time that I watched this movie, and as the time I was like entering puberty and realizing that relationships were a thing that I would be having in my life, is I wanted to be Lloyd Dobler. And Lloyd Dobler from Say Anything is someone who fell in love and did everything he could to make the thing work and make the person that he loved feel special. And I can honestly say, not every day of my marriage, because every marriage is different and there are always things that get in the way, but for the majority of my married life, I wake up every morning going, how can I be more Lloyd Dobler for her? Because I think that my wife makes me feel a lot of the things I had listed in the list. She makes me feel like a hero, and she makes me feel strong, and she makes me feel all those things. And I want to make sure that every day I spend that time making her feel the way Lord Dobler wanted Ione Skye to feel in the movie Say Anything. So, yeah, it's definitely it's number one on the reason for things I really wanted to be in my life. And I know that there's jokes now when we look back at the movie, like man arrested for romantic comedy behavior. And I get that in 2025, as we go into, maybe that's not the behavior that's encouraged, but for me, there's still something really romantic about it. And when you find the right person, I think it all comes together, and I certainly did.
Yeah, Lloyd. What are your plans for the future?
Spend as much time possible with Diane before she leaves.
Seriously, Lloyd.
I'm totally and completely serious.
All right, so that does wrap up this episode of Jim's Movin' Picture Show. Kind of a fun episode, I think. What are some of your characters that when you were growing up, you said, that's how I want to be? I'd love to hear that, have this discussion. I'm hoping that I get some comments from like Andy and Gary and Mike Donis and some folks, because those three, we have a very similar pop culture history, and I'm wondering if I had some similar ones or different. So let us know what you thought.